It started on a Friday. The kind of quiet evening that pretends everything's fine. Dinner on the table. Laughter from the TV. Her wine glass half full, mine untouched. She looked at me across the table and smiled that practiced smile. The one that used to mean love, but lately just meant obligation. We used to joke that marriage was a 50-50th deal. But lately, it felt like I was financing both halves. Still, I played along. Asked about her day. Listened to half-truths disguised as updates. She laughed too loudly at something I said. And that's when I noticed her laugh didn't reach her eyes anymore. Something was off. I just didn't know yet that she was already miles ahead of me, building a life that didn't include mine. Later that night, she was sorting mail at the counter. Bills, flyers, the usual, until one envelope caught my eye. A payment receipt from a consulting firm. Her hand moved fast, too fast, sliding it under the others. "Just business," she said casually. Except she didn't have a business. Her tone was calm, but her pulse gave her away. I could see it beating in her throat. It was a small thing, a mistake. The kind people make when they forget you're still paying attention. I didn't confront her, not yet, because sometimes silence is louder than accusation. And I wanted to hear what hers would reveal. The next morning, she left early, too early for a Saturday. Said she had a client meeting. Her perfume lingered in the hallway long after she was gone. New scent. Not the one she always wore. I stared at the untouched coffee she left behind. Then at the calendar on the fridge. She'd circled our anniversary. And then crossed it out. No explanation. No plans. Just a clean single line. Like she'd already decided the date didn't matter anymore. I wanted to believe it was stress. Or work. Or anything but betrayal. But denial is just love wearing a blindfold. That evening, she came home humming, happy, relaxed, almost glowing. Her purse dropped on the couch, and something slipped out. A folded receipt. I picked it up before she noticed. Dinner for two. 2 glasses of wine. A total that didn't match one person's meal. And written at the bottom, in a handwriting I didn't recognize, "Next time's on me." My chest tightened. But I kept my voice steady when she asked what was for dinner. Because when people start hiding things, they forget that pretending can be a mirror, and I just decided to become hers. That night, I sat beside her on the couch. She leaned her head on my shoulder, scrolling through her phone, pretending we were still the couple we used to be. Then she turned the screen slightly away from me. A reflex, quick, subtle, but enough. I smiled, kissed her forehead and whispered, "You know, I trust you completely." Her hand froze. Just for a moment. Then the smile came back, slower this time, rehearsed. That was the moment I knew. The marriage wasn't dying, it was already gone. And as she fell asleep that night, I opened my laptop, created a new folder, and titled it one word, Evidence. Because from that night on, I wasn't her husband anymore. I was her quiet consequence. The next morning, she was up before sunrise. Coffee brewed, car keys in hand, perfume heavy in the air. No breakfast, no goodbye kiss, just a quick, "I'll be late tonight." She'd been late a lot lately. I asked where she was headed. She said, "Work on it," then kissed my cheek like punctuation, a gesture meant to end the conversation, not start one. But she forgot something. Her planner sat open on the counter. No meetings. No audit. Just a small note scribbled in the corner. 10 a.m. Blue Harbor, a cafe downtown. The same one where she said she'd never been. That's when the first real crack opened. I drove there after she left. Didn't follow her car. Took a different route. Parked across the street. From the window, I saw her. Same coat. Same confident walk, different smile. She sat across from a man in a gray suit, too close, too comfortable, too familiar. Their conversation looked effortless. Her laugh looked genuine, the kind I hadn't heard in months. When she reached across the table and touched his hand, something in me went silent, not angry, not shocked, just empty. I waited until they left together, then snapped a single photo through the windshield. Proof, not for revenge, not yet, for reality. Because sometimes you need evidence to believe what your heart already knows. That night, she came home glowing. Same perfume, same lie. How was work? I asked. Busy, she said, dropping her bag before I could see inside. Meetings ran late. I nodded slowly. She poured herself wine before taking off her shoes, something she only did when she was nervous. Then she said something strange. You ever feel like you're stuck in the same routine? The question hung in the air. I wanted to answer yes. But my version of routine didn't include someone else. I just smiled instead. Maybe we need a change, I said. Her eyes flickered. Because she heard the double meaning. Later that week, her phone rang while she was in the shower. Unknown number. The name flashed only once before fading to missed call. Then came the message. You left your scarf in my car. I'll drop it off tomorrow. I stared at the words until they blurred. Her car was in the driveway, meaning she'd been in someone else's. My hands shook as I put the phone back, exactly how I found it, because now it wasn't just suspicion. It was confirmation, wrapped in polite, careless honesty. And part of me wanted to confront her right there. But another part, the colder one, wanted her to keep lying. Because every lie she told was another thread in the rope she was quietly weaving for herself. That night, she cooked my favorite meal, lit candles, played music, overcompensating. Halfway through dinner, she looked up and asked, "Do you still love me?" The question caught me off guard. I could have lied. But so could she, and she already had. So I said, "Of course," and watched her study my face, searching for cracks, finding none. Because I'd learned something important. When someone lies to you long enough, you stop reacting. You start calculating. She smiled again, relieved. But I saw it, the faint tremor at the corner of her lips. The first sign that her confidence was slipping. And as she poured more wine, I whispered to myself, "Keep smiling, darling. I'm almost done pretending." After that night, I started noticing things. Not new things, just the kind I'd ignored before. Her phone was always face down. Her smile came easier when she looked at the screen. And she'd hum in the kitchen when she thought I wasn't listening. The same tune she once played when we first started dating. Only now it sounded borrowed. Every day she gave herself away in small, unintentional ways. But I didn't call her out. I let her think she was winning. Because the best way to expose a lie is to give it enough room to grow roots. One afternoon, I sent her a text. Thinking of taking a few days off. "Maybe we should go somewhere." She replied 2 hours later. "Oh no, I can't. I have that audit coming up again." Same excuse, same imaginary meeting. I smiled because I already knew where she'd be. I'd tracked the cafe's security cameras 2 days before. Public access, a feed from the street outside. Every timestamp matched her audit days. Every time she claimed to be working, she was there. Same man, same table, same betrayal on repeat. I downloaded the footage and backed it up twice. Not because I wanted to confront her. Because I wanted to control the ending. I didn't go to my brother first. Or my parents. I went to her best friend, the one who'd been avoiding my calls. When I finally reached her, she hesitated. "I shouldn't be involved," she said. "You already are," I told her. "You've known." Silence. Then finally, she said she was unhappy. That you were distant. I almost laughed. Unhappy? Distant? I'd spent the last 8 years building her dreams while mine collected dust. But I thanked her anyway. Because now, I wasn't just a husband who'd been cheated on. I was a man with motive and proof. The following weekend, I told her I'd be working late. Instead, I drove past the cafe again. This time she wasn't there. No, she was across the street, standing next to his car, talking, laughing, then leaning in. I didn't take another photo. Didn't need to. Instead, I opened the note app on my phone and wrote one line. She chose her exit. Now I'll design mine. When she came home that night, she hugged me longer than usual. And I realized something cruel. The guilt made her love me better. Every kiss was an apology disguised as affection. It almost worked. Almost. The next day I started the process quietly. New bank account. Separate email. Backed up everything. Messages, receipts, screenshots. Even changed my passwords, not to keep her out, but to see if she'd try to get in. By the third day, she did. The security alert came in at 11:47 p.m. Her name, her device, her attempt. She was checking how much I knew, how close I was. And I smiled at the screen because she didn't realize. The moment she tried to protect her secret, she confirmed it. That's when I knew exactly how this would end. Not with shouting. Not with broken glass or slammed doors. No, she'd walk into her own ending, thinking she was safe until the lights came on. It happened on a Thursday. The kind of morning where sunlight feels too soft to trust. She was making coffee, humming that same song again. Like nothing had ever happened. Like her lies hadn't already been archived, labeled, and time-stamped. I watched her move, calm, confident, completely unaware that the story she'd written was no longer hers to control. She looked at me and said, "You're quiet lately." I smiled. Just tired. It was true, not from love. Not from anger, from pretending. That night I handed her a box. Inside, a watch. "Happy anniversary," I said. Her face softened, surprised. Maybe guilty. She didn't notice the engraving on the back. Time reveals everything. She kissed me, said thank you. But as she left for her early shift, I checked my phone. The watch had a tracker built inside, not because I wanted to follow her, but because I wanted her to know I could. And when she found out, she'd understand that this wasn't anger. It was accountability. The next evening, I invited her to dinner. Candlelight, music, her favorite meal. She thought it was romance. Halfway through, I said, "There's something I want to show you." I set my phone on the table, played the footage. Her and him, laughing outside that cafe. The street camera caught everything. Her fork slipped. Her breathing broke rhythm. She whispered, "It's not what it looks like." But I interrupted. "I know. It's exactly what it looks like." For a moment, silence. Then she reached for her phone. Probably to delete, to explain, to deny. But I'd already sent everything, the videos, the messages, the timestamps, to both our families and her workplace inbox. Her secret was no longer a secret. It was a broadcast. She tried to cry, to plead, said she'd made a mistake. Sighed she was confused. But I'd already packed her things. Each bag labeled with dates. Every lie cataloged and folded neatly beside her clothes. She stared at the door like it was a cliff. Sighed, "You're ending us like this?" "No," I said. "You ended us a long time ago. I'm just writing the final line." She left without another word. The sound of that door closing wasn't the end of a marriage. It was the sound of peace returning to a house that had forgotten it. A week later, I walked into the same cafe, the same table. The same air that once carried their laughter. But this time, it was empty. I ordered black coffee, sat in silence, and watched the reflection in the window. For the first time in years, I didn't see a man being lied to. I saw a man who stopped begging to be loved by someone who only loved the version of him she could manipulate. Revenge didn't make me happy. It made me free. Because some betrayals don't deserve forgiveness. They deserve documentation, and I made sure hers was written perfectly. If you made it this far, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I have carefully selected a story for you to watch next that I am sure you would love. I will see you in the next story.